Hello everyone, welcome back to another card making video. I can't stop making interactive cards, so I made another fun one for you. The One In A Chameleon flip-flop set from Lawn Fawn was lying on my desk and it caught my eye. I thought it would be fun if I alternate them with the regular chameleon on the Flippin' Awesome frames. So that's exactly what I did, and I made it rainbow. So without further ado, let me show you how I've made it. Spreek je Nederlands? Er is ondertiteling beschikbaar. I start with coloring my images. I use Copic markers for this and I put the cap with the color number on the left of my paper for you to see which color number I use. All of the images are from Lawn Fawn. They are all stamped in Lawn Fawn jet black ink. Like I said earlier, the chameleons are from One In A Chameleon and the flip-flop version of that. The branches and the leaf are from a bug deal. I also stamped the flipped version of that leaf out of that set on another paper. I stamped a few of each kind of leaf and a few of the small branches, because I will need the image multiple times on my card, but the coloring is the same as I will show you here. If you want to skip watching me color, you can skip to the time that pop-ups on the screen now. You can also find the clickable time link in the description. Since I want to color a rainbow from left to right, distributed over the chameleons, I did a little bit of thinking on beforehand on how I was going to do that. I soon figured out that coloring the gradients into different colors would be hard enough without also worrying about the shadows, so I minimalized those. When I could, I gave the tail some shadows because that was doable. Also, that's where it matters most in giving the image some dimension. When I need to transition to a different color, like here where I'm going from green to blue, I go back and forth with the colors, flicking the marker in to make the transition as good as possible. Don't panic when it doesn't look good right away. When the ink is dry, it will reveal the final look. It can look way better than when it's still a little wet. If it didn't work out good, you could always stamp another chameleon and try it again, using a different marker or layer another color underneath to help. After coloring, I like to go over the inner lines with a black fine liner to bring back some detail. This is totally optional, but for me it makes a difference. I'm only showing you one of the chameleons to save some time in the video. When I'm done doing the black lines, I'm adding highlights with a white gel pen. I die cut the images off screen. I've cut the base frames from Flippin Awesome out of some craft paper. From the Into the Woods Remix Petite Paper pack, I cut the inner frames out of the tree paper. I glue the inner frames onto the frames. I also cut the flipper piece out of craft paper as well. It's hard to see on video, but it has all these embossed lines that I'm folding. I'm folding it to one side first and then fold it into the other direction. This makes the flipper go really smooth. Now I apply score tape on all these vertical bar pieces. On the square I use some tape runner. Starting at the square, I can now adhere all the frames into place. Now I fold the big flap over to the back. I can fold over the little tabs at the top and the bottom now. I made a car base and glued on a Lawn Fawn paper that I cut with the large stitched rectangle stackables, also from Lawn Fawn. The paper is from the Hello Sunshine Remix 12x12 papers. I used the Flippin Awesome add-on to cut a stitched scalloped frame out of watercolor paper. I used watercolor paper because it has a little texture which looks nice on the card. Now I add some score tape to the tabs of the flipper by folding them open. After I peeled off the backings, I fold it back and adhere the flipper to the card. Now I can pull the tab to see if it works, and I also can glue in the last frame. I cut this out of some rainbow paper in my stash and I cut it with the add-on as well. After that is done, I check if the flipper works as it should before I continue making the little scenes. On every frame I'm gluing a small branch, 1 or 2 leaves and a chameleon. Of course I follow the rainbow order in which I colored them. I make every frame slightly different by placing the branch in a slightly other angle and placing the leaves in a different way. I make sure I glue everything on as flat as possible so the flipper doesn't become super bulky. On the last frame, I'm gluing the big branch and the last leaves, except for one that I'm keeping for the sentiment, and the last 2 chameleons. Out of the rainbow paper, I also cut a label for the tab, so I'm gluing that on. For the sentiment, I cut a banner with one of the banner dies in the Flippin Awesome set. From the One In A Chameleon flip-flop stamp set, I'm using the sentiment "You Color My World." I use my Misty and Distress Oxide ground espresso to stamp it on. This way I can position it right and stamp it multiple times to get a nice and crisp sentiment. I also want a heart to put in between the 2 chameleons, so I take the heart of the chameleon set and Distress Oxide Picked Raspberry to stamp that. I place the heart between the 2 chameleons. For the sentiment, I cut a strip of tin foam tape to lift it off the card a little. Now I can glue the leaf that I kept aside on the left of the sentiment. And with that, my card is done. I love that my idea worked out as I wanted to. The chameleons alternate each other with, on the last frame, a loving couple. It was also quite a challenge to keep the card a little basic in its colors, so the flipper and especially the last frame would get all the rainbow attention. But it worked out great. Thank you so much for watching and I hope I inspired you with my card. If you like my video, please consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribing to my channel and ringing the bell to receive a notification when a new video is up. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye!